I'd like to welcome today Dr. Jan Hall. Jan is a clinical psychologist with a broad-ranging group of interest, including that of elders and sexuality. As I think you'll all be aware, we seniors tend to become increasingly private about such matters as we age, and I think we are really fortunate that Jan has come in today to talk with us on an area in which she has considerable expertise. Jan, what do we mean when we talk about seniors and sex? Do we mean a range of intimate activities ranging from, say, a cuddle to intercourse?
Well, welcome to the world of seniors and sexuality. And what I'm talking about really is, anything that makes you feel comfortable spiritually, mentally, emotionally and physically. So if it causes pain in any of those areas, don't do it. Is
sexual behaviour important as we age? And if so, why would that be?
And, sexual behaviour really is important, from children, babies will have sexual feelings. It's part of our natural development. So why should it stop just because we age? We do tend to slow down. We can have to have more realistic expectations of our bodies. And I like to think that it becomes a lot more caring and more about true intimacy, because I think that's really what keeps us grounded and actually leads to a much happier and longer life.
What then would you say is normal sexual behaviour for people over 65? Is there a norm?
So, goodness gracious, could there be a norm for sex? And certainly not once you're over 50. Anything could go. However, what's normal is what's normal for you, and also needs to be negotiated with your partner. So take some time to sit down and talk about what you like and what you don't like. And sometimes I know that might take a little bit of courage, but I'm sure that once you get used to it, you'll start to be able to, talk more openly with your partner. I know for some of you, you may have been together for 50 years. And if you can't openly talk about sex now, well, when's it going to be?
In your very considerable experience as a counsellor, what are the common problems? Is it physical, or psychological, is it societal expectations of what we should be as we age? What could you say to that?
Okay, so I'm a psychologist, but I've specialised in a few areas, and sexuality is one. So I am getting a lot of people who come in now saying, I know that my sexual problem is psychological. Normally, however, they've been to the doctor to find out if it's physical first, particularly men. Men want a magic pill. And for all of you guys out there, I've got some bad news for you. The magic pill only works 60% of the time. And, of course, it also depends on you having a warm, willing partner to be close to, because just popping the pill and expecting everything else to pop up isn't going to happen. So, yes, do go to the GP if you're worried about your sexual performance, and make sure that you do eliminate issues such as hormone levels and issues with aging. But then if it is psychological, you can go to your GP and you can get this Medicare plan. Now, I was really crossed when they called it a mental health plan, because, that sounds like you're mental. And really, it's to encourage all folk who have problems, and it could be with depression, which, by the way, is not an aphrodisiac. But also sexual matters are definitely on the GP plan. So if you go to your doctor and he will give you that plan, you can see a psychologist or a social worker who's trained in sexuality. But be aware that you don't buy into societal expectations that just because you're over 60 that you have to stop being sexual. That's a very old stereotype now, and it just doesn't have any substance to it. We're not talking about swinging from the chandeliers, but we are talking about mutual caresses, taking time, sharing pleasure, and of course affirming that your partner is beautiful to you.
If seniors have sexual difficulties, where might they find advice or
So
treatment?
for seniors who have sexual difficulties, I think the first thing they should do is go to the GP and eliminate any physical issues. And then you can seek help referred by the GP for a psychologist who's a specialist in sex therapy. And of course, if you go onto my website, which is www.sex-therapy.com.au, and if that's a bit scary, you can go in through www.dr.Janet.Hall, all one word, and then you can sneak in to the sex therapy site, and that way you don't have to have anybody else knowing what you're looking at.
We'll tag that at the end of the DVD, Jan, so people can remember it. This is an area in which I have limited expertise. Is there anything, and particularly in terms of structuring these questions, is there anything you might like to add to the subject that I haven't covered?
Okay, so I wanted to share with people that I have a CD which is called Sex for the Golden Oldies, and it was my great privilege to have as a best friend Florence Houghton. And some of you may have seen Florence when she was a parachutist when she was about 84. I believe she was the oldest person in the Southern Hemisphere to have parachuted, in tandem of course. And so Florence came into the studio to help me make Sex for the Golden Oldies, and she was just hilarious. She used to say, "Dr. Jan, I've never talked to anybody about sex," and when I actually got Florence to go on the TV show Sex Life, and she was very anxious. She said, "What will they get me to do? What if they get me to hold up a vibrator on sex?" She said, "Dr. Jan, I'm 92, and at 92, I have to protect my reputation." Florence had the funniest stories, and she was always so excited to get a chance to talk to anybody. She'd tell you anything too. But I think that there's some very valuable information about society's expectations, and to affirm that you're never too old. What do they say? When you're ripe, you rot. So just keep ripening sexually and enjoy really what is God's gift.
Well, thank you very much, Jan. You spoke very well. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure our seniors will too.